Go live.
Yeah, the name should be right already, and then you can hit, it should say public, and then you can hit go live. Yep.
Okay, it says done redirecting to YouTube.
Perfect.
Woohoo. Go live.
Yeah, the name should be right already, and then you can hit, it should say public, and then you can hit go live. Yep.
Okay, it says done redirecting to YouTube.
Yep, sounds like it's working.
Okay. And I should hit the mute button on YouTube, right? So it doesn't hear me.
Yeah, so that you're not hearing it through both ways.
Okay.
And I don't actually think you have to keep it open now. I usually do just because I check on it throughout the meeting, but you don't necessarily have to.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close it. If something looks wrong, let me know.
Will do.
All right.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
Excellent. Okay, so time being 6:02, I call to order the City of Glenwood Springs Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. This is the extension of our regular meeting from last Tuesday. Today is September 29, 2020. And we will, let's see, the webinar ID to log into via Zoom is 897-7790-5782. Or if you prefer to call in, a good phone number is, let's see, 1-253-215-8782. And I think that's all for the Zoom part of this. And can we please have a roll call?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Boyd. I work in administration at the city. Commissioner Deem.
Here.
Commissioner Shaver.
Here.
Commissioner Sipperly.
Here.
Commissioner Grosscup. Commissioner Schachter.
Here.
Commissioner Wissing. Commissioner Wusso. Commissioner West. Commissioner Kinkle.
All right, thank you. And is there just the four of us tonight, Gretchen?
Marco, I did receive confirmation that Ben was going to attend. Let me call him or shoot him an email.
He's not in the attendees. No, he's not. Okay. Well, we're gonna. Should we wait? No, four's a quorum. We can proceed, right? We'll just move on through the items slowly and see what happens. So, item 3 on our agenda tonight is comments from citizens appearing in front of us with items that are not on the agenda. Please raise your hand if you're attending. I see none. We'll close that, and I guess we'll just move into our first continued item for tonight, which is planning file 15-20, consideration of a request for a preliminary plat to amend the Oasis Creek Tract A subdivision to allow for the construction of duplexes on lots previously platted for single-family homes. And we left that at presentation and some comments last week. And Trent, what additional information do you have for us?
Hey, good evening, Commissioners. Trent Hyatt with Community Development here with you this evening. Just wanted to point out a couple of things. In addition to all of the previous comments that were attached to your staff report last week, you now have 3 additional PDFs that include all of the comments that we have received since last Tuesday night's meeting up until this evening. And as we have in the past, staff is going to read those additional comments into the record. I did just want to point out, you may or may not have noticed a very small change to the staff report, and that was just an addition that I placed in there to clarify that this application, like the previous subdivision application, is going to City Council for a final decision. So I'm not sure if you were unclear on that or not before, but I just want to make sure that you understand that you are the recommending body tonight. So I guess we'll jump right into the additional comments that we had. I think Jen, Gretchen, and I
Brent?
are just going. Yep, go ahead.
Before we do that, can we bring over the folks from the development team? So
Yeah,
Mowgli,
thank you.
Scott, Tate Fairbanks, and Doug Pratt. Am I missing anyone?
Mary Steinbrecker, please.
And Mary Steinbrecker.
Jen, I just wanted to mention, Ben, I think is on, but I'm not seeing him on camera.
I'm here. I don't know what's going on with my camera.
Okay, thanks, Ben.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
Okay, so I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Ben West is also present tonight.
Present.
Thank you.
Do you need to seat Ben then?
Yes,
As an
absolutely
alternate?
correct. So at this point, I'm actually entertaining a motion to seat our alternate Commissioner West.
I'll move. Second.
A motion and a second to move alternate Commissioner West. Call for the question, please.
See Commissioner Dame,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaver,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes.
Commissioner Schechter.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Yep, and just to double check, I added Mary Steinbrecker, Scott Grosscup, and Tate Fairbanks. Was there somebody else that you guys asked me to add as a panelist?
Mowgli
Pratt,
Cooper
please.
and
Oh.
Doug Pratt.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Trent.
Nope.
Doug
Thank you.
and Mowgli. Okay, everybody should be good.
Okay, the first comment we received was from Dale Reed, which states, Planning and Zoning Commission. I strongly oppose approving an application for 6 duplex tracts in the Oasis Creek Tract Day subdivision. 6 individual new homes is already a sufficient impact to this community. Duplex units would 1, change the character of the single-family residential area, 2, set a precedent for multifamily units, 3, further exacerbate large traffic increases planned by the limestone mine on Traver Trail, and 4, further complicate parking along Traver Trail.
I'll take the next one. Trent and staff, with Mowgli and my son involved in the Oasis Creek project, I admit to a substantial bias. I also admit to a presiding bias towards the future viability of this wonderful place and its appeal to old and new. When you find an owner willing to offer a property for less than its maximum potential, be very grateful. No, be ecstatic. I know the Steinbreckers are residents and are concerned for themselves and their neighbors, but we are simply lucky there. Please do not trample on their sense of community and generosity. Nobody wants a 50+ unit albatross. The proposed 6 duplex units would be, I believe, well placed, compatible with the current surrounding residences, excuse me, and adding an absolute minimum of traffic. There are current residents in Oasis Creek looking to downsize who are interested in the first units. That says a lot about the market, the quality, and the design of the units. Sincerely biased, Buzz Fairbanks.
This next one is from Elizabeth Henkel, and it was received on Thursday, September 24th. Hello, Trent. I was in attendance at the P&Z meeting Tuesday and did raise my hand, but I'm assuming you did not see it. My name is Elizabeth Henkel. I have lived in Oasis Creek on Castle Court for 22 years. Please accept this letter as support for the project proposed by the Steinbreckers and their developers. The 6 duplexes seem very appropriate for the area. I hope you will support the project and that the P&Z will approve moving forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
This next comment is from the Oasis Creek Architectural Control Committee and was received on September 25th. Dear Planning Commissioners, the Oasis Creek Architectural Control Committee continues to work with the developer of Lot A and Oasis Creek. The 3 members of the ACC met with the Steinbreckers, current owners, Tate Fairbanks, developer, and his legal counsel, Scott Grosscup, on September 24th to discuss the project. The conversation was productive. Mary and Jerry noted that each lot will be deed restricted to a maximum of 2 units as a condition of the sales contract. This should ensure that no more than 12 units are ever constructed on tract day. We were also encouraged to hear more about Mr. Fairbanks' plan to develop quality duplexes in Oasis Creek. Mr. Grosscup went through the legal aspects of the covenants. He contends that because the 2016 subdivision of the land did not go through the correct covenant amendment process, the land currently has all of the covenant entitlements necessary to construct the proposed duplexes. The ACC does not have the expertise to weigh in on the legality of their approach. We understand the path that they are taking and do not plan to challenge the validity of it. We look forward to continuing our work with Mr. Fairbanks and seeing a quality development constructed on Tract A. Respectfully, Greg Greer, Jim Griffin, and Jeff Peterson.
Okay. Let's see. Hi, Gretchen. My name is Jeanette Anderson. I live at 820 North Traver Trail in Oasis Creek. I have resided in Oasis Creek since 1982. This was long before many homes were built. My views on this new development is please proceed. My first home was 622 Traver Trail. My late husband and I were always concerned when and if a huge complex would be our view from the west, including the increased amount of traffic if the multi-units condos were built. I have seen the proposed project and appears to enhance the Oasis Creek division. I support the P&Z approval of the new project. I believe the proposal meets the city's comprehensive plan requirements with the city staff approval. My current husband and I have a 4-story house above the proposed property and have been in search for a single family living situation. We keep hoping instead of condos, the city would sometime look to retirement homes for us longstanding citizens in the community. I have several friends that were longtime residents and have relocated to Newcastle due to a complex of this nature is not available here in Glenwood. We most likely be interested in purchasing one of the units. The underlying zoning is R3 residential, which supports the building of duplexes. This project would be a great improvement to Oasis Creek subdivision. In conclusion, I fully support this development. Thank you, Jeanette Anderson, 820 North Traver Trail.
This next one was received on September 28th. Hi, Gretchen. My name is Jared Lombardo. I live at 820 North Traver Trail in Oasis Creek. I'm writing to you to state my views on this new development. I support the P&Z approval of this new project. To my knowledge, the proposal meets the city comprehensive plan requirements with the city staff approval. My wife and I have been looking for a single living situation and would likely be a candidate to purchase one of the units. I believe that underlining zoning is R3 residential, which supports the building of duplexes. I also believe it would be a great improvement to Oasis Creek subdivision. The proposed units that I have seen appear to be high-end and very nice. So in conclusion, again, I fully support this development. The only concern I have is all the on-street parking that happens every night on the same section of Traver Trail. Thank you. Jared Lombardo, 820 North Traver Trail.
Next comment was received from Sharon Anderson on September 27th. Glenwood Springs Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to speak in support of the Oasis Creek Tract Day application. I am a senior who has lived over 20 years in Glenwood Springs and would like to continue to do so. While I'm not ready to look at assisted living, I would very much like to relocate to a single level home. The availability of this type of housing is virtually non-existent in the area, and those that are available are either mid-century needing major upgrades or very small apartments. The construction of 12 new one-level duplexes will provide some welcome alternatives. Access to the proposed units and parking have been addressed in the application. Some open space and trails would still be available to the general public. Using this application to rectify problems inherent in the original Oasis subdivision is closing the barn door after the horses are out. This development would be an asset to the community by providing facilities that are currently sorely lacking. I would urge you to approve this application. Thanks for your consideration.
The next comment was received on September 27th from Alex de la Gazzara. I was appalled at all the negative comments from neighbors in Oasis Creek regarding the application for 12 units on Tract A. Glenwood Springs and the surrounding area desperately needs units like those proposed in the application. Tract A was originally approved for up to 50 multifamily residential dwellings with the maximum height of 30 feet. I understand that the 12 units will be single-story structures, a great improvement over 50 multifamily dwellings. Not in my backyard seems to be the calling cry from neighbors in Oasis Creek. As a senior, I hope you approve the project because that might be the perfect place for me to live in the near future. I urge you to approve the application. Sincerely, Alex De La Gazzara, Glenwood Springs.
And the next one was received on September 28th as well, to Glenwood Springs P&Z. As resident homeowners in the Oasis Creek subdivision, we support the planned future development of single-story duplexes on the Traver Trail curve. These future smaller, high-quality units will provide much-needed single-floor homes in Glenwood Springs. The historical owners of this property have allowed neighbors free access during the decades of the owners' tax liabilities. The rights and liberties of property owners, not in violation of civic statutes, is a fundamental part of wise community planning and development. We support approval. Bob and Sandy Ketchum, Oasis Creek homeowners.
And I believe that concludes the comments received.
All right, thank you all for reading those to us. Now they're on the record, great. Let's do this. Is there any additional questions from the commission to staff at this point?
Yes.
Commissioner Schachter, please.
Thank you. Trent, I have several questions, not meant to reflect necessarily my own view on any actions tonight, but clarification and for the record, if you might. Question number one, given the request tonight, does this bind the applicant because of verbal communication that there will be no more than 12 units and they will single family? Because we're not approving a formal site plan and building plan, but I'm asking for the record, does this bind it to single level homes no more than 12 units?
Well, I can't speak to the single level home because that's not been, anything that's recommended as a condition by staff. However, we have recommended a plat note regarding the duplexes and a limit of 12 maximum.
I understand there's been quite a bit of comment and that's why I'm asking this, that quite a bit of support for single family. And generally when we have a hearing, do we not include a condition that all the verbal assurances that were made during the hearing are part of the record and conditions?
Yeah, generally we do, but one as specific as a requirement for a single level home would be something that I would prefer to be, a specific condition. And again, to single family homes. I mean, again, we're talking about duplexes here. They would be.
I understand. They are up to 12 units, 6. And I just want to make clear for the record for all those people that are responding and viewing then that there is no assurance unless the applicant wants to make that assurance that these will be ultimately single family. We are approving, single level. We are approving, if this is approved, we are approving the replatting of duplex units, and new lots, is that correct? Or tracts, as the applicant would call them.
Correct. We're not changing the boundaries at all of any of the existing lots, but we are permitting duplexes thereon as opposed to.
So there will be duplexes we're approving. They're now tracts, not lots. And we don't know the final architectural style or how many levels there'll be.
Correct.
Okay.
The applicant has certainly stated their intent, but
right.
I just based on the topography of the lots, of course, a walkout style home, could be perceived as well.
But yeah, this process does not guarantee that. I just want to make that clear for the record and all the people who have voiced support or opposition. Is that correct?
Correct. However, the subdivision does have height requirements as well.
Right. Second question again, partly for clarification, if the applicant or owner had asked in 2016, for example, or now for multifamily units, and then we'd probably have to roll back maybe to 2016 when this was not re-subdivided. If they'd asked, say, hypothetically for 20 or more units, would the procedure and findings and conditions of this hearing be very similar then, because it did conform with zoning at the time?
I don't know that they would be similar, Sumner, because if it was 20 units, the layout would likely not be achievable with the lots that are proposed.
Well, let's roll back for a second, hypothetically, to 2016, Trent, when there was no, this tract had not been subdivided, and the applicant, the owner or another applicant had come before planning and zoning. I realize it's hypothetical, and said, okay, we're coming in with a preliminary plan for 20 units. That would have been a conforming use and complied with our zoning on that tract. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to clarify some things. I do have a couple more, if you'll allow me. Since the soft path that was chosen to go along the road was that was a choice of the owner based on 2016. They were given a choice of two different pedestrian paths. They chose the adjacent soft path, and it was a condition of approval in 2016. I guess my question, at this point going forward, does the city have any authority over the maintenance of that trail, since it was a condition of a prior approval, in terms of its upkeep and condition and making sure it is there, assuming that the people aren't parking over it?
I think we signed off on the construction of that soft path back in 2016, and since it's on private property, I would not know of any legal path the city would have to require the upkeep of that.
So for simplicity's sake, that would be the owner's property and somehow their responsibility, but not for us to determine.
Correct.
Okay. All right. The other thing, if you'll keep being so generous, in the 2016 staff report, Trent, it said, I'm going to read what it said. Tract A is governed by the protective covenants adopted within the OCS, the Oasis Creek subdivision. Section 1.3 defines a tract as multifamily areas. Section 4 also states that further division of lots and or tracts is prohibited. However, a variance has been recently granted by the Architectural Control Committee to allow for the subdivision of Tract A into not more than 10 lots, and the current proposal would likely limit the number of units to much less than 50. Why, do you have any insight as to why approval was granted in 2016, but it appears we are being asked, I understand the legal, but it appears something has changed between now and then in terms of the applicant not asking for any permission. And so planning and zoning in 2016 was faced with, even though we're not to be the arbiter of internal covenants, we were pretty much relieved of that in 2016 by the process of the applicant, but not in 2020. Do you have any insight as to why we've been put in that position, if you will?
You know, I would just state as I think I did last week, it's just a different order of operations this time. You know, an application was submitted to us, you know, we're required to act on that application. The previous applicant had gone to the ACC prior, but that was not at the requirement of the city.
And I guess, again, we're not supposed to be the arbiter of this. And we got tracked and lot, and now lot back to tracked. I would, again, presume I would want you or Anna to confirm, again, that is not a, is that not a, it's not a city issue. It is an internal subdivision issue about the renaming of those parcels.
Correct. Our municipal code does not identify tracts or lots as, you know, having specific uses or requirements.
Got it. And I think that covered a lot of my questions or clarification. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. And Commissioner Shaver, please.
Thanks, Anna, for that clarification you sent out. I thought that was very helpful. And so from what I understand from a layman's standpoint, should we be calling this tract? I mean, that's the language of the subdivision, which from what I understand is not part of the city language. Should we be just approving lots for duplexes and this open space lot rather than calling them tracts?
Again, I don't think our development code really differentiates between tracts or lots. So it doesn't have any implications on what's developed therein.
Okay. Well, it seems like if we're trying to stay separate from, you know, to just provide input on our code, that we would use our language and not theirs. But that's for others to determine, I guess. That's all I had.
All right. Thank you, George. Okay. Any other questions to staff at this point? If I see none, welcome applicants. Good evening. Would you guys care to add something to the presentation or respond to any of the comments that you heard? Please state your name for the record and raise your hand if you have anything to add.
This is Doug Pratt. I didn't raise my hand, so it's okay. Thanks for hosting again. We appreciate you guys splitting this up so there's plenty of time for public comment. It seems like that was a useful process, and we appreciate you doing that. As we had said the last time, we support staff's recommendations, including conditions of approval that have been outlined in the staff report. I guess there's one kind of based on some of the discussion that's been had this evening. There's one request to kind of a change in condition 6 and 11B to state that use of lots/tracts 1 through 6 shall be limited to a maximum density of 1 duplex on each lot. That being said, that's the maximum density. It gives a little bit of flexibility if there's a desire for single family, but we're looking for a density cap of 2 units on each lot, which would be 12 units total in the project. So that's just kind of our request, and it would be a similar request to 11B, I believe it is. So if that works, that would be great. Otherwise, we support the conditions as are written with kind of a clarification on a cap of a density of one duplex per lot as a density cap.
Okay, thank you for that. And if I see nobody else jumping in, we'll do questions to you guys. Any questions to the applicants from the commission?
Well, yeah, I would ask at this point, is the applicant willing to commit in terms of verbally and to the whatever extent the city process allows it to single family duplexes or residences, since it has been talked about so much. Single level residences.
I was just going to say, I think it already says single family
Single
duplex.
level residences.
Okay.
That has been talked about so much, but apparently is not guaranteed.
Right. I mean, the representation has been that that's our goal, is to create single level homes. We did clarify in the narrative in the application that because there's grade change across the project, across each of those homes, that we'd like, you know, that part of the proposal is to be able to have walkout basements if grade allows, you know, just because we're going to have to take up that grade with something. So, so that has been the goal of kind of this application. I don't think we're necessarily looking for some kind of deed restriction for single level homes, or a plat note, or a condition of approval. I think it's still the goal of this application, with the ability to have a walkout just because of grade change. And that's what we've represented in the application.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else from the commission at this point? No? Okay, thank you, applicants. And I'll bring it back to us, entertaining a motion in planning item 15-20, preliminary plat Oasis Creek Tract A subdivision. And at this point, staff is recommending approval with findings and condition on page 7.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion regarding planning item 1520, action regarding the preliminary plat to amend the Oasis Creek Tract A subdivision to allow for six duplex tracts or lots and 1 open space tract or lot, depending on whose definition we're using, with the recommended findings on page 7 and the recommended conditions on page 7, with the amendment of item number 6, that the use of the lots and tracts shall be limited to construction of a maximum of a duplex on each lot. And similar on item 11B, shall be limited to the construction of, I guess, a maximum of a duplex per lot.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Or if I may say, I have a question. Why, Sumner, why did you didn't think that just the way it stands is good enough for just being a duplex?
No, I heard the applicant, Mr. Pratt, say, look, there may be a situation as this thing goes to request a build out or their market analysis or final approval, that there may be a demand for less density for a single residence rather than duplex. So I see no downside, as he said, to put a maximum, and there may be fewer units, not more.
Okay, I get it. So you're trying to cap.
Each lot is they're capped at up to 6 duplexes, but it could be, some of those could be a mixture of duplexes and single family. And yeah, single units.
Okay, and just to be really redundant and confusing here, what did you add to condition 6? I'm sorry.
The same thing. There'd be a maximum.
Just the word maximum. Okay, got it. Okay. All right. So
I see it as giving the applicant a flexibility to put a single family dwelling on there if they so choose, without any complications.
That was my understanding.
Right, but not more than a duplex
on
a duplex
of each approved lot.
I see Scott wants to chime in, and usually we don't do that after we have a motion on the table. But is it something quick?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman. My suggestion is that it would be a maximum density of 1 duplex per lot, just to clarify.
I would so amend the motion
Okay,
Second amendment.
thank you, Scott. That was helpful, actually. Very good. So the motion is amended to maximum density and the second is amended as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? No? Is everybody clear on what we're voting on? I think so. With the amendment, sometimes it gets a little tricky, but if I see no more discussion, I will call for the question.
Commissioner Shaver,
Yes.
Commissioner West,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Schachter.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, applicants, for showing up again. And
Thank
good
you.
luck on your project. It's great.
We look forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, so we'll kick them off.
Thanks to everyone. I know that was a difficult one to process, which is deliberately why we wanted to bring it back through.
Thanks a lot, Trent.
Yeah, really.
A lot of work.
I think it worked out very well. So let me scroll to the next application here. I think it's way down here. There it is, page 243. All right, so let's see, moving on to planning, continued planning item 44-20, consideration of a request for a special use permit for a retail marijuana establishment in the M1 mixed use corridor district. And again, Trent, do you have any additional information?
Mr. Chairman.
Hang on, sorry, Trent. Should we get the applicants in?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Please promote Brandon Miner and Peter. I guess that would be Steve. And I'm not seeing Vicky in there this evening. Perhaps these gentlemen could tell us if she's here with us.
Okay. Well, if they show up a little later, we can always add. So,
okay, I'm not sure.
Vicky should be on the call.
Okay.
Yeah, she said she was on. So,
okay. Is she perhaps on a Galaxy S9?
Probably, maybe.
Okay.
She has
and,
one, maybe.
I'm sorry if I stated to promote Terry Cates. I apologize. I do not believe Terry is one of the applicants.
Hello.
And
I'm here.
hey,
there
Vicky.
you are.
And just as a point of order, Marco, we have not received any additional comments on this application.
Okay.
And happy to answer any additional questions that you all have.
Excellent. Thank you, Trent. I guess at that point, I'll close the public portion for this application, and we'll do the same thing as last time. We'll do questions to staff from the commission first. Raise your hand, please. And I see none. Okay, great. And no info from you, Trent. So welcome, applicants. Good evening. Do you have any additional material information for us?
I don't believe so, not on our side.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Do we as commission have any more questions to the applicant? Anything unclear? Everything clear? Okay, great. I guess if I see no more questions, I will bring it to the commission and entertain a motion in planning item 44-20, special use review for a retail marijuana establishment in an M1 mixed use corridor. At this point, staff is recommending approval with conditions of with finding and conditions on page 8.
Mr. Chairman, regarding planning item 44-20, I'm prepared to make a motion. Regarding action item number 1, special use permit for a retail marijuana establishment on the M1 mixed use corridor district. I would recommend approval with the recommended findings and conditions on page 8. I would like to add, perhaps with Trent's guidance, one more condition, that this approval is based on the fact that the existing pole sign there, the non-conforming pole sign, is non-conforming and no longer has a vested right to be there, and that any future development on the site will involve conforming signs as per our code.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
Motion and a second with an additional condition about the sign, which doesn't surprise me from Sumner. And we have a second that for backup. So excellent. Any discussion on this? Now,
Not on our.
Sumner, you're not saying they have to tear the sign down. It's just if something changes, it's got to go.
Well, no, I'm saying if they develop the site, that sign's got to go. They can modify it to conforming or come up with a brand new conforming, but that sign as it is will not be there.
Okay, understand.
What constitutes development?
I would amend the motion to say any building permit would initiate that process, and a final occupancy certificate of occupancy would make sure that that is compliant at that time with our sign code.
Okay, may I ask Trent to see if that works?
I believe I understand the motion. Yes.
So that could work with the building permit and the CO at the end. Okay. Excellent. Any more discussion on this?
Do we have that second on that clarification?
Oh, on the amended? Okay, yeah. Do we?
Second, the amendment and clarification.
Okay, excellent.
Trent, this is Peter Fornell, and that amendment to the motion is satisfactory to me, just in case you're curious.
Okay, thank you for chiming in. Awesome. Now we know. If there's no more discussion, then I'll call for the question.
Commissioner Sipperly.
Yes.
Commissioner Schachter.
Yes.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
Commissioner Dan.
Yes.
Commissioner Shaver.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, Steve. Thank you, applicants, for coming by tonight, and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commission. That was speedy work tonight. We're already through it. This works really well with the split up meeting and the additional comments and processing all of this. So I like it. Commissioners, we're already in commissioner comments. We're done for tonight. Let's start with Commissioner Shaver.
Well, I didn't make the comments during the approval, but I think that that project in Oasis Creek is just sort of the definition of what we're looking for with infills, utilities available, certainly a need. I mean, it just matches everything that we're looking for. The only other comment I had was looking through the minutes of May 24th of 2016 and comparing those, the degree of specificity, it's a big word for me, between that and what we have now. And I'm just curious, it seems like the detail is missing in comparison to what, those meeting minutes compared to what we have today. And I'm just curious as to why that is. There's a reason. Go ahead.
Over time, we've gone more to action minutes. So you'll see that also in the city council minutes and hopefully other boards and commissions as well. And we do have the advantage of, for the last several years, having on the city council side, the YouTube record And during this year, we've also had the YouTube record for the P&Z. So I think
Well,
that it's just a change in moving all of the minutes to action minutes.
Will that be the same going forward after COVID or not? For P&Z, I guess.
The YouTube, I think it's something that we haven't explored, but I know that people probably do like being able to see it. And I know that we're working toward making some improvements to the council chambers. Thanks, Steve. I think we need to make some upgrades in that system to kind of keep that piece going. Especially if we're going to try to go to a hybrid meeting where we have some people in the room and some people on Zoom. So we're hopefully working toward that.
Well, it seemed to be helpful to kind of get a little better background on what the decision-making process was, for that item in particular. That's all I have. Thanks. Oh, and thanks again, Anna. Having that clarification really set my mind at ease and helped me understand the whole thing. So I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, George. Commissioner Schachter.
I would second what George said, Jen. I know having the ability to go back and listen to the meetings is extremely helpful. And it's also helped in the case of my absence, being able to participate, particularly with split meetings or split decision. It's very helpful if we can do it economically somehow. Again, also thanks, Anna, because I was going to ask for a letter of indemnity if we had to proceed tonight without one. And I guess the last question would be a maybe clarification, Trent. Not if the Martin deal goes through, if this deal closes, can you briefly say now what happens to the existing Martin space with a new owner or applicant? Is that already an approved use, or does somebody have to come in with a new special use permit?
Well, if someone were to come in and operate it in the same fashion, it would be an approved use. But what I will tell you is that they have been their lease has not been renewed. I do not believe whomever is intended to buy this. We haven't seen the transfer yet, but whomever is intended to buy this does not want that use to occupy the site.
So that would go away. It would not be vested and it would be gone.
Correct. And after a certain amount of time, that would, open up that area for an additional business.
Depending on distances. Thank you very much. And thanks for the work, all the staff. Thank you. And Steve, thanks for sitting in.
Yeah, you guys are easy.
This was an easy one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Sipperly.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a whole lot of information coming in for the Oasis Creek. And I did notice in reviewing the 2016 minutes, they were done in sort of a different manner. The one thing I did notice that there was supposed to be the easements recorded. Now, if this is, I guess, as I mentioned last time, I'm not really used to working with HOAs or ACCs. When the city sets up a subdivision, do they have to submit all their covenants and documents to us, or does it just sort of stay private? And I kind of, in terms of dedicating the open space and the parking conditions, seriously, the neighbors were very concerned about parking, but it seems as though they weren't supposed to be parking there anyway. And Trent did clarify it's the city's job to manage the parking. So is it something where that the city or the staff actually reviews before a subdivision is platted going forward? I mean, this is more of a question than a comment, but looking for some insight.
Yeah, at the initial subdivision stage, we do want to see that things like parking and common elements and required improvements are constructed, as per the approval. It's kind of thereafter that we let the subdivision go and then we don't get involved. I mean, we are concerned with making sure that, maintenance and of common areas is achieved. But, once they've done the initial recordation of those covenants and of that subdivision plat, amendments there too are outside of our control.
Because for instance, the recorded plat that we looked at from 2016 did say a 10-foot easement for the gravel path. But of course, it doesn't spell out, as Commissioner Schachter asked earlier, who takes care of that. I mean, if it's overgrown with weeds or parked on, it's essentially no longer a path. They promised to build one, but nobody promised to take care of it. Is that something that we could also impose as a condition? I presume we could, because we imposed the path as a condition in 2016. So maybe if we impose conditions like this, we should also kind of focus on who maintains them.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea moving forward. One of the things about that path is the condition back in 2016 kind of left it open for the applicant to work with staff as to what the improvement would be at the end of the day. So that left it open a bit, as well as the maintenance. I would agree, Carolyn. It's something we should pay more attention to.
Sounds good. Thanks to everybody.
All right, excellent. And Commissioner West.
Sorry about that. I'm having some technical difficulties here tonight. I think the Oasis Creek sounds like a great project. I think it's definitely moving in the right direction for doing infill development and meeting a need for, basically zero, homes that are built with the kind of single level living style. And so I'm excited about that. I think that sounds awesome. And I second that. I really like the format where we get some time to digest all the information and don't have to make any kind of decisions at 10 o'clock at night. So I think it's all great.
All right, excellent. I don't have much. Thank you, Steve, for pushing the correct buttons at the right time. And the only thing I have is Thursday afternoon, 3:30, joint meeting with council. I think some of you have said they're going to be there. I hope all of you are going to be there. I'm going to try really hard to be there, and it's only an hour. So get you, I guess, thoughts prepared and make sure we tell them what we think in a planning kind of way. And with that, I move over to Jen. Anything on your end that we should know?
I was just going to remind everyone about the joint council meeting. I apologize for the short notice. I did put in some bullets of potential items to talk about. So there's some kind of weighty items there in the potential agenda. I don't know if you've looked at the agenda at all, but there are some attachments in there as well. So it has the comprehensive plan. It has a document that explains what is a comprehensive plan, and some information that came out of the EPA technical assistance that it's actually still marked draft. We're not 100% through the whole, we don't have an inked copy of what those recommendations are, but we received some technical assistance from the EPA related to kind of tying in the Hanging Lake system and our downtown, but the recommendations were more far-reaching than just recreation. So there are some recommendations related to affordable housing. So I would encourage you to read that if you have not. And there is also kind of a tally of how many units have been approved in that are someplace in the pipeline. Either they have just recently been completed and there's a CO issued, or they have a TCO, or there's someplace in the actual planning process that it does include the Oasis Creek that you saw tonight, but it doesn't include other proposals that we know are kind of coming. So anyway, just would encourage you to look at all of those documents. And if you have any questions in advance of the meeting, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Sounds good. Just real quick, what's the status of Bell Rippey after we went through all that very fast?
So they are still working through getting their construction drawings, and I should let Trent answer, but there's another kind of planning process that's after the site and architectural approval that is the construction drawing. So it's kind of the civil drawing review. before the building permit and the grading permit application. So they are working their way through that.
But they're moving forward.
Yeah, the
that's
only
good.
thing I would add, Marco, is that they're hoping to break ground March 21.
March. Okay. Spring project. That'll work. Excellent. Okay. Thanks to all. And we'll see you Thursday. Some of you, most of you.
Thank
hopefully.
you.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you
Night.
so much.
I can just hit end, right?
Sure can, and it'll stop all this recording.
Thanks for all your help, Alyssa.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.